Number 7. This one is a little tricky. You have to do it on the insane difficulty or else it's not going to work. During the prologue, there's a part where you'll go through a blast door and there are 3 enemies there. You take them out. Immediately to your right, you'll see a door slowly start to close. And if you can get through that door before it closes, you'll find a gun called the Despicable You. It's a freeze gun, which is an obvious reference to the freeze ray from Despicable Me. You know, Gru uses that shit to freeze the entire Starbucks line. Anyway, yeah, it's a cool little gun. You shoot dudes with it, you freeze them, and then you can shoot them again and blow them up into a giant ball of red paste. Anyway, minions are terrifying. Fuck you, fuck them, and I just, let's move on, please. And then next, on number 6, this is one of many Easter eggs that take place at the Phoenix Estate. In Act 2, Chapter 2, right after getting your armor, you take on a wave of DBs and you fight the Kestrel. And once you're finished with that and everything quiets down a bit, you'll be able to explore the floor a little bit. In one room, you'll find a piano, and it prompts you to hit X, and once you do that, it'll play this song. And it's the OG main theme from the first Gears of War. And this is one of many Easter eggs that you can find in just this part of the game alone. And up next, number 5, in Act 5, Part 3, you get to run around in a cool-ass mech. And after traveling down the road a little bit, fighting some enemies, taking them out, you come across a broken bridge, and there are 2 semi-down trees that kind of resemble like a football goalpost. Well, this is Gears of War, so a thrash ball goalpost. And in front of these 2 trees is a car, and if you're able to kick the car through those 2 trees, this is what happens.
Yeah, baby, we got it! Stand up! Wow, man, that was nasty!
Yeah, as usual, you get Cole, who's hyped as fuck, and you get fireworks shooting, and you get a little rap from him. And also, after doing this, there's a thrash ball that pops up behind you that you can kick around for a little bit and take a break from fighting waves of enemies. And up next, number 4, this is actually a very small one that I missed on my first playthrough. I didn't notice it until I played this chapter a second time. But when you get the Fabricator back to Reyna Settlement and you're preparing for the COG onslaught, Reyna is giving orders to everyone, and one of the names she yells is
Carmine!
She yells at him to
Get back up there!
And you actually see him on the turret taking out a dropship. And just as Oscar is bragging about how he taught him everything he knows, he meets the fate of every other Carmine in the game and he dies. Dude gets a drop pod dropped right on his dome, like splat. And depending on where you're looking when Reyna actually calls his name and orders him to go back to the turret, for a split second you can see him and it looks like he's wearing his signature helmet or maybe a bandana and goggles that are glowing blue that kind of resembles it. You can't really get a good look at it, you just see it quick, but it's definitely a throwback to Carmine that we all know from Gears of War 1, 2, 3, and Judgment. And up next, number 3, in Act 2, Part 1, when you first return to JD's childhood home, you can find your initials carved into a tree. JDF, James Dominic Phoenix. But the big Easter egg in this part is a little bit to the right. If you look to the right, you see a gate, and going through that gate actually triggers a whole hidden cutscene that you can completely miss. After you walk through the gate, it leads into a garden and there's a memorial for Anya. And JD rests down his gun and just kind of takes a moment to mourn and miss his mother. And it's a shame that this is a missable cutscene because even without JD saying anything, it still hits pretty hard. JD is a bit of a dry character and this is the most emotional you see him. And the entire time you're at your childhood home, you get the feeling that there really aren't many good memories for JD there at all. And it makes sense for this level, this chapter, to actually have all of these Easter eggs, seeing that this is a place from JD's past and Marcus is a thing from our past, really. I mean, some of us grew up playing these games and it just makes sense for all these kind of Easter eggs to be in this place. And up next, number 2, in Act 3, Part 3, after riding the funicular up, which I didn't know that word even existed until this game, you head a little further up and you actually run into one of the silliest Easter eggs in the game. You come across a little hallway, and in that hallway there's a bunch of tables and chairs, and if you run through them like a child, JD will actually start yelling like a crazy person. Between JD yelling and the loud sound of the metal tables and chairs bouncing back and forth of each other, it's actually really funny. Del also calls you out real quick, essentially just, telling you to calm down and asking you if you're done yet. And up next, on number 1, this is definitely hands down the best Easter egg in this game that I've come across so far. And when you meet up with Marcus at his home and you fight through waves of DBs, you eventually get to a greenhouse and DBs start busting through the ceiling, and Marcus drops probably the best line of the Gears of War series, and I think the overall favorite here at the office, and it sounds like this.
Shit, they're gonna mess up my fucking tomatoes!
As you can tell, he's obviously very upset about his tomatoes, and after the shootout, if there are some tomato plants left, just go ahead and destroy the rest. Just shoot the rest and see what happens. You're in for a treat, and here's what happens after doing that.
How long I worked on this fucking house alone? You know what it's like being a fucking hermit? Fixing a house? There's no Home Depot out here, you fucking assholes. fucking tomatoes. They fucked my tomatoes up. God damn it. I'm never gonna have a fucking good sauce again. Damon Baird, you're a cock.
Yep, it just triggers Marcus cursing and yelling about his tomatoes and making some references to the members of Delta Squad, calling one of them a very not nice word. And as an Italian, I feel him on never having a good sauce again. That's devastating, and I would probably just want to end it all right there. Listening to John DiMaggio losing his shit is just great and so fun. I listened to this about 4 times already just today. And this also unlocks a new type of grenade called the Dom Tom, which is a tomato that just blows up into, I guess, ketchup, because that's